Today, we'll watch several videos of NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang as he made a number of incredible and shocking statements about Elon Musk, xAI, and Tesla. A few days ago, Jensen was interviewed by Brad Kirstner of the BG2 podcast. Jensen said that even after NVIDIA's $100 billion deal with OpenAI, he still believes Elon will be the big winner. He said he would not be surprised if Elon gets to 1 gigawatt of compute before anyone else, saying Elon has a sense of urgency like no other. Elon replied kindly to this sentiment. Second, Jensen called Elon the most world-class builder we have in the country. He said Elon's new Colossus 2 supercomputer could scale to over 500,000 GPUs and is likely the first to hit 1 gigawatt of compute. Third, Jensen says OpenAI will be the next trillion-dollar company, while Brad said he sees NVIDIA themselves being the first $10 trillion company. Let's do a quick exercise to see who will get to 10 trillion first, Jensen or Elon, NVIDIA or Tesla. Got Jeff Lutz here with us today. He's a multi-decade supply chain executive, chief quality officer. He's now CEO of his own supply chain consulting firm. Welcome, Jeff.
Hey, Herbert. Yeah, it's quite the race happening there.
Yeah, I possibly NVIDIA will get to 10 trillion first, but maybe you tell me we'll get there. Let's listen into NVIDIA's and Jensen Huang being interviewed by Brad Kirstner of BG2. So he said this, even after NVIDIA's $100 billion deal with OpenAI, so last week, NVIDIA is planning to invest $100 billion into OpenAI. Jensen still says Elon will be the big winner, and he still thinks that Elon will be the first to 1 gigawatts. Let's listen to what he said.
You know, this isn't just about better models. We also have to build. We have to have world-class builders. And you said, you know, the most world-class builder maybe that we have in the country is Elon Musk. And we talked about Colossus 1 and what he was doing there, standing up a couple 100,000, at the time, H100s, H200s in a coherent cluster. Now he's working on Colossus 2, which may be 500,000 GBs, millions of H100 equivalents in a coherent cluster.
I would not be surprised if he gets to a gigawatt before anybody else does.
Right.
In one.
Yeah, so say a little bit about that. The advantage of being, the builder who, isn't just building the software and the models, but understands what it takes to build those clusters.
Well, these AI supercomputers are complicated things. Yeah. The technology is complicated. Procuring it is complicated because of financing issues. Securing the land power and shell powering it is complicated. Building it all, bringing it all up. I mean, this is unquestionably the most complex systems problem humanity has ever endeavored. And so Elon has a great advantage that in his head, all of these systems are interoperating, and the interdependencies resides in one head, yes, including the financing.
Yes.
And so
he's a big GPT. Yeah. He's a big supercomputer himself.
He's the ultimate GPU. Yeah. Yeah. And so he has a great advantage there. Yeah. And he has a great sense of urgency. He has a real desire to build it. And so when will comes together with skill, unbelievable things can happen.
It's good to hear Jensen speak very kindly of Elon. I was kind of concerned because Elon himself said concerning when Jensen invested $100 billion, but it sounds like they're still good. And then Elon himself said, nice of Jensen to say that, okay? And then we saw this, Elon, the most world-class builder we have in the country, he said, and then Colossus 2 could be the first to scale to 500,000, first to gigawatt, and Elon posted this, 1.21 gigawatts of training, xAI. That's not just 1 gigawatt. Obviously, it's a joke. But so one of the things that Jensen did say, Jeff, was that procurement is complicated. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, it's actually the fact that, well, first off, I mean, if you're OpenAI and you hear Jensen say that, you have like, what does that mean? Like I give $100 billion of capital and access and all kinds of things, but he still thinks the other guy is going to be ahead of you.
Yeah,
not the greatest thing to hear in the world either. So I think Jensen definitely has some emotions he's got to balance within his customers. He has customers not only fighting for supply of his product, but he has customers fighting for how quickly that they can get the product into service so they can order more of his product. So Jensen's in a very good position. I think he's figured out how to maintain relationships across competitive, hyper competitive, personalities all over the world. But make no mistake that there was definitely a message sent. There's a message being sent. Look, he's done this investment in OpenAI, Jensen. He's done this investment in Wave AI for autonomous vehicles. He's done an investment in Figure for robotics. Mm-hmm. It's incumbent upon Jensen and NVIDIA to not have one location or concentration of power for his customer base. It's incumbent upon him. So I actually see and understand why he's doing what he's doing. He's not anti-Elon. He wants to balance. He wants to have balance. He wants to have a redundant 2 or 3 super strong customer bases that can compete versus having one that wins. If Elon took control of everything and the lead was so insurmountable, guess what happens next? Elon then starts dictating pricing, saying, look, I'm not, this is the price I want, because he's the volume leader of consuming of Jensen's product. So there's a lot of 3, 4, 5D chess happening here, but at the end of the day, that he's really trying to have 2 or 3 robust competitors out here. So you've seen this pattern of where Jensen's investing, and it's not. I would say it's not a coincidence that he's invested in those 3 areas significantly.
So GPUs are the critical supply for, in this case, supercomputers. You have run, global mobile phone industry. You ran big giant companies. Did you kind of do deals with your key critical supply chain components, or did you have so much power and you have so much choice that wasn't an issue for you, or did you put in the pressure?
This is, yeah. No, I was a leader in supply chain. I wasn't running the entire business unit, but yeah, these deals take on many forms. Many are announced, many are unannounced, and you're trying to align supply. You're trying to align cost for greater future investment. So the mobile phone industry would not have been what it was if there weren't suppliers and OEMs working together on co-investment. There were, as this industry scaled, there were times where that needed to occur. So it happens. This is happening, I would say, at a investment level, gross investment level, that's up there.
What I'm asking you is
in history.
Yeah, when you had one key supplier, did you actually go and try to fund the second key supplier so that there's not this imbalance?
Yeah, and you fund them by project awards. You fund them in a number of different ways. You look at how they get paid. Yeah. Sometimes could they be getting paid more upfront? Could they be getting paid on delivery milestones? Could they and there's some that are so financially strong that you could adjust those payment terms to be more back end loaded. But it all changes relative to supply demand dynamics. If the supply is there, then you as the OEM have tremendous power and capability. When the supply is not there, then you've got to bend over backwards and you have to go back in and help. But it was interesting. The carriers in the OEM world, it was all handled differently. They would do less on the component investment side, and they would do more on the marketing side and working on the packages and the deals for consumers to consume smartphones, at a more accelerated pace. That big movement from upfront payment for your smartphone to these monthly plans really set the next volume shelf for smartphones. So don't be surprised to see that happen with GPUs and leasing models and so forth. So I think it's appropriate to have some kind of raise one eyebrow with what's happening here. A lot of this circular co-investment, Oracle announces this multi 3, 4, 5-year plan that's based on OpenAI. OpenAI announces investment based on NVIDIA. I think it's appropriate to be cautious because these companies have to produce product that people are willing to pay for. So right now, there is significant growth in ChatGPT and people are paying these subscriptions, but it's going to have to go well beyond that in terms of revenue generation and margin for this investment to really pay off. So what Tesla is doing with their infrastructure investment and their inference investment, I think they're going to see a very large payoff as it relates to real world AI.
And the difference this time around, it's actually NVIDIA is the supplier and they're like investing in their customer and they're trying to pick which customer, like you said, you already talked about at the beginning, they can't let one customer take over. So maybe it sounds like that in his eyes, it's not that OpenAI is the leader, it's that you can't let Tesla get away with it. So let's go ahead and support this second. Maybe that's the way it is, as opposed to like, these guys are first, I'm going to give them money, but we'll see.
And Elon has tremendous access to capital. And remember, there isn't a CEO that has a robotics unit, an LLM, super intelligence unit, a social media company, a car company. So all those companies have massive capital bases that he can raise from. So it's getting to the point where Jensen's looking and said, wait a minute, I can't if he runs away with it, he has pricing power. He has all kinds of leverage in the world. So he's got to have some form of balance. So I respect that.
This is exactly what he says in this clip here. He says Elon isn't actually, I don't know if I'm going to replay a portion of the clip. Hopefully I don't, but Elon isn't just building cars. He's building AI supercomputers. I won't be surprised if he gets to a gigawatt before anyone else. Let's see if
this isn't just about better models. We also have to build. We have to have world-class builders. And you said the most world-class builder maybe that we have in the country is Elon Musk. And we talked about Colossus 1 and what he... I think I replayed it. Okay. So that part is a replay. And then the other section he said here is billionaires don't think in quarters. I think this is perfect for you to talk about. OpenAI is the next trillion-dollar company. And that's why he's investing. No dollar cost, discount cash flow, no quarterly app download data. Let's see what he means by that.
I think that OpenAI is likely going to be the next multi-trillion-dollar hyperscale company.
Okay.
I think you and I.
Why do you call it a hyperscale company?
Hyperscale, like Meta's a hyperscale.
Yeah.
Google's a hyperscale.
Yeah.
They're going to have consumer and enterprise services, and they are very likely going to be the world's next multi-trillion-dollar hyperscale company.
Yes.
And I think you would agree with that.
I agree.
If that's the case, the opportunity to invest before they get there, this is some of the smartest investments we can possibly imagine. And you got to invest in things you know.
Right.
And it turns out we happen to know this space. Mm-hmm. And so the opportunity to invest in that, the return on that money is going to be fantastic. So we love the opportunity to invest. We don't have to invest.
Right.
And it's not required for us to invest, but they're giving us the opportunity to invest. Fantastic thing. Now let me start from the beginning. So we're partnering with OpenAI in several projects. The first project is the build out of Microsoft Azure, and we're going to continue to do that. And that partnership is going fantastically. We have several years of build out to do, hundreds of billions of dollars of work just to do there.
Right.
The second is the OCI build out. Mm-hmm. And I think there's some 5, 6, 7 gigawatts that are about to be built out. And so we're working with OCI and OpenAI and SoftBank to build that out.
Right.
Those projects are contracted. We're working on it. Lots of work to do. And then the third is CoreWeave, right? Mm-hmm. And so all of CoreWeave 4, I'm talking about OpenAI still.
Yes.
Okay. Everything in the context of OpenAI. And so the question is, what is this new partnership? This new partnership is about helping OpenAI, partnering with OpenAI to build their own self-build AI infrastructure for the first time.
Right.
And so this is us working directly with OpenAI at the chip level, at the software level, at the systems level, at the AI factory level, to help them become a fully operated hyperscale company. This is going to go on for some time. It's going to supplement the amount of, they're going through 2 exponentials, as you know.
Right.
The first exponential is the number of customers is growing exponentially. Right. And the reason for that is the AI is getting better, the use cases are getting better, just about every application is connected to OpenAI now. And so they're going through the usage exponential. The second exponential is the computational exponential of every use.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Instead of just a one-shot inference, is now thinking before it answers.
Yes.
And so these two exponentials compounding their compute requirements. And so we got to build out all these different projects. And so this last one is an additive on top of everything that they've already announced, all of the things that we're already working on with them. It's additive on top of that. And it's going to support this incredible exponential.
One of the things.
Oh, he said a lot there. First of all, did I notice that he's, were you copying him or is he copying you, Jeff? With the glasses, with the leather jacket?
I think he's having fun. His company is near an all-time high. He's doing really well. Yeah, he said a lot. This is OpenAI building their own infrastructure out versus, being partnered with Microsoft. And so then they're being partnered with Oracle. Now they're doing their own. So that's some of this investment that's occurring. But I think what this means for Tesla and Elon is going to be very interesting. I think we're going to continue to see a bit of a different Elon, where over the prior to this, for the last year, very hyper focused government work, making sure the right leadership is in place, thinking and probably being correct that there's a crisis related to our budget, how much we're spending. But I think he's flipped a switch, and that switch is he's still mostly aligned with a lot of the platforms and a lot of the things that he believes in, but he doesn't necessarily have to talk about that as much as he has to execute in the background. So he's got to execute. He's got to bring this compute up. He's got to show investors. He's got to show partners. He's got to show potential customers that he can meaningfully bring up this compute, make it coherent, meaningfully faster than anyone else, and that the others are going to continue to have execution issues. It looks like they were having funding issues too. And he openly questioned where this funding was coming from with SoftBank. And so don't for a second think that some of this isn't all interconnected. Finally, I think you're going to see a little bit more of I don't want to say a charm offensive, but he's got to get more data. So he needs to show that he's the fastest, he has the most coherent and the best supercomputer out there. That's going to attract investment and capital. It's also going to attract more partnerships. And it looks like where OpenAI is kind of running away with it now in terms of all their partnerships and where they're interconnected with third-party apps. So I think you're going to see a little bit more of, you may see more, this is a long shot, but I think you'll see a little bit more of Elon partnering with others and being a little bit more of a charm offensive. I just think he's going to be in full-on wartime execution mode as well, and the results are going to be clear. But I think a lot of these companies want to partner with a company where the optics of the company, the leadership and everything are of that, like, hey, this is going to be a commercial viable success. We're not going to have any issues. So I just think Elon's going to be focused on attracting capital, attracting partners, and he needs data to continue to improve and drive these AIs to new levels. So he's focused on investment, capital, partners, and data. And he doesn't want anything to get in the way of that.
Is there enough compute from NVIDIA? Because it sounds like I've reserved all this for 4 projects for OpenAI, and I'm going to reserve this, or building out all over or everywhere. Is there going to be enough for Elon?
Yeah.
I mean, he needs it for either Tesla or XAI.
Well, TSMC, if you follow some of the Asia supply chain stuff, they are building out in Taiwan like you would not believe. They're expanding in Arizona. They're pulling in some of their expansion too. This is why, and I posted about this for the last year, why all this stuff about there's going to be an AI pause. It was been predicted for the last year, by the way. It's just so absurd, because when you looked upstream in the supply chain and you looked at the fab build outs, you looked at the pull-ins, you looked at what they're doing, you're like, there's no way that they're putting this much capital out there for it to be sitting there and to be idle. Of course, these build outs tend to be cyclical, and at some point they're going to overextend, and there's going to be a reduction in the pace of growth. That's going to happen. But it's it wasn't going to happen in first quarter of 2025. That's absurd. There's probably, it's hard to say, but there's a good period of time ahead of us here. You can just see it by the fab build out. So I think there's a crazy amount of expansion. And remember, as they go from Blackwell, so they go from the H100s to Blackwell, and then Blackwell to Rubin, they're getting tremendous efficiency gains for the amount of compute. So there's big jumps that are occurring here. So, a B200 system with, less GPUs, you're going to get far more compute power. So there's that in our corner as well. And I think a lot of the capacity is going to be going more towards inference. So Tesla controls their own destiny there. They're still running that through TSMC. So there's still going to be, there could be capacity issues there. It's hard to say, but I know through public conversations that Elon has been having conversation. That's why he's dual sourced that out between TSMC and Samsung. He's been having discussions in the 4 to 6 year time horizon.
Yeah, so I'm not as worried about the inference because that's what Elon said. We're gonna really control our own destiny for inference, but it's the training chips with these GPUs. NVIDIA is really the leader here. Do you think that Elon still has first dibs?
I think there's a grouping of people that have first dibs. I think it's Elon. I think it's OpenAI, Oracle, Microsoft. I think there's a grouping of companies and Meta. And what it will come down to is if you're, and I've seen these happen before, allocation is a very private thing where when a company is supply constrained, the attributes of what drives allocation, it's typically what's the customer willing to pay, and it's also related to how much revenue they think they can derive over a certain period of time. Meaning, are they pulling the parts out of inventory, and are they reordering quickly? And so the answer to your question is I think Elon and Tesla have been distinguishing themselves based on the speed of their supply chain and the speed of their build out and bring up. And that's going to continue to put him to the front of the line, because NVIDIA they can invest $100 billion in whomever they want. If they supply them the chips and they're not bringing these data centers up at the rate they're needed, they're not going to be ordering more. So Elon has made the performance of his companies and how he manages this, he's made it kind of unavoidable that he's going to be in that premier tier. And so these things are complicated. I think that's why he's not going nuclear on NVIDIA and Jensen. He's got a tremendous relationship with them, tremendous respect. Yeah. And quite frankly, I go back to the original comment of Jensen has to do this. He can't have this one concentration of power in his customer base. It's really destructive if you have that.
Yeah, that's good to hear. That's what I wanted to hear. And I'm glad that that's how you view it. Is it fair for me to understand the situation between xAI versus OpenAI? Okay, OpenAI has something like 300 million weekly active users because they were first. Their active users is through the roof. Grok and xAI is very small, even though they're better, smarter AI. And as he mentioned, xAI has tremendous amount of agentic AI capability because they're already connected with many, many software apps. Grok is just starting. But Grok's strategy, xAI strategy, is to build the biggest compute and be the biggest computer and be first. And the theory is that the bigger compute, then you're going to have smarter. If you have smarter AI, somehow they will resolve the issue of not having enough customers, not having enough integration. Between the two strategies, which one do you think is the right strategy? Never bet against Elon, but boy, some people, and you have to kind of like ask yourself, OpenAI does have some advantages.
No, they do, and they had a huge head start. But I would not bet against Elon. I would not bet against that speed. And he's basically going, off of compute laws, and in terms of capability. I think these AIs are in search of a next. First off, they want to solve general intelligence, but they have to go into. So Elon's got his AI in multiple verticals. So it's robotics for physical real world, and then vehicles, of course. And those are going to come out the other side. The inference piece of it's going to be huge. The business models are going to be huge. And he's got a home. Everyone else is fighting over this general intelligence space. So I think both with XAI, with OpenAI, I think they're looking for that next vertical. Is it healthcare? And is it solving major diseases that could not have been solved before? What kind of level of compute is needed to do that? Is it the education system and how children are educated? I think they're looking for this next major vertical to go after and solve, and then just launch into that, and launch investment and launch compute towards that. And once they do that, their valuations continue to expand, and then it feeds the build out of them, growing and growing. So we're living through a major transformation in tech, and that will ultimately impact society.
Okay, let's one more thing here. You got Brad Gerstner thinks NVIDIA is going to be the first $10 trillion company.
I'll say it here. I think NVIDIA will likely be the first $10 trillion company. And I've been here long enough. It wasn't that long ago, just a decade ago, as you well remember, that people said there could never be $1 trillion company. Now we have 10. And today,
but the world's bigger.
And this is back to the exponentials around GDP and the growth.
Yeah. We have 10 companies that are $1 trillion companies now. Before it was like a never impossible thing. And then he's calling NVIDIA the first $10 trillion company. I think that they probably will get there before Tesla, but what you're thinking?
I think the inference side is going to be nonlinear. So let's see, in what physical real world AI, if you look at the profitability of what a robotaxi could do and what it could change in transformation of transportation, what robotics could do. I mean, NVIDIA's closer, right? So they're much closer, but I also think you're going to see a fairly significant acceleration in what Tesla is doing. So we'll see. It's going to be an interesting race. I mean, I wouldn't bet against NVIDIA. They're supplying a lot, and remember that they're not only every offering, they're getting more and more of the data center. It's not just GPUs that they're shipping, and it's not just hardware. It's also the software piece of this. So they're very well embedded for a long period of time. I think AMD, and I think you get some emergence on the training side, but I think you're going to see a lot of players actually on the inference side. So a couple of years down the road, I think there could be more and more risk as more and more of this workload moves to the inference side. You see Tesla with their own inference solution. You see Google with their own inference solution. You see this Grok company with their own inference solution. Amazon's got their own. Microsoft's working on their own. So, I mean, it's going to get fairly crowded too.
Yeah, I think that's the thing we should talk about because, in fact, when Elon announced that we're not going to focus as much on Dojo, which is the training compute side, we're going to go all in on the inference. And we've got Samsung, we got that fab, we got it, dedicated to us. We're going to really do the inference side. Jensen before said that inference is going to be 1 billion times bigger than training. So just think about that, where Jensen's and NVIDIA has made all this money because of training compute, but that's just the beginning. Once you've got these training computes, it will always grow. It's now ability for the edge devices, whether it's a computer, whether it's a watch, whether it's a human or robot or car, they all need inference, and that's going to be the game. And Elon is playing in it. And so maybe Jensen goes, okay, well, we're now going to be competitors, in that space. But yeah, you're right. I mean, isn't that great though that Tesla and Elon is actually in the inference game?
They are. They're in the inference game. They're in the power game. He's in. I mean. He sees these bottlenecks in multiple years in the future, and he gets in front of them. Sometimes he doesn't have to bat 1,000. That's a U.S. term for for baseball. Well, I guess it could be a global term too. Several baseball teams globally, but he doesn't have to bat 1,000 on these. But a couple of them, if they come through, could be everything. So it'll be an interesting thing to watch.
Thank you so much, Jeff. That was great. Follow Jeff on his X account at the Jeff Lutz. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Thank you.
I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.